Thank you. On that issue of narcotics, obviously my state has the highest percentage per capita of deaths by overdose from opioids. It's a very, very sad situation, and it is coming from the southern border. So when you think about it, when you have this flood of humanity coming over, and with, I think, not enough deterrence or no deterrence in some cases, it diverts your workforce away from interdicting these drugs, because we know they're coming in. We also know that the more people that come in puts more money in the hands of the cartels, which allows them to up their ability to have a more robust drug trade. So there is a correlation here, and I'm concerned about that. I want to ask you, I do want to make a quick comment too about the Disinformation Governance Board. I know that you have a large Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. Why should we continue to fund them if you're creating a whole nother, establishing a new board or working groups? What's wrong with what they're doing in this area?
So I'm going to respond to both questions in reverse order. I'll take the working group, the Disinformation Governance Board, which doesn't have its separate budget. What it is doing is drawing personnel from different parts of the department, including the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, including the Office for Privacy, including the Office of the General Counsel, by way of example, to make sure that these experts are actually developing the guidelines and standards that should have been in place for many years that haven't been, to ensure that this critical mission-focused activity of stopping threats to the homeland that are created by disinformation intended to harm us is addressed in a way that does not infringe on fundamental rights. And so the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties is involved in the working group, and as are the other offices and the operators themselves. CBP, who addresses disinformation propagated by the cartels, who provide disinformation for the express purpose of having migrants with false information come to our border. But
aren't you actually telling me that we're already doing this?
Senator, we've been doing the disinformation work for years, but what we haven't had is sufficient standards and policies in place and harmonized efforts so that the efforts in different parts of the department are not in conflict with one another, abide by fundamental rights and responsibilities.
Let's go to the drug question, because I'm going to run out.
So the drugs primarily are sought to be brought into the United States through the ports of entry. Through the ports of entry, through the trucks and cars.
Right.
And what we have done through the able use of technology and operational talent, such as the forward operating labs, is interdict more drugs than in prior years. And
well, I mean, you don't know how much is getting through, but I can tell you it's getting through, and it's getting through to a lot of places and causing lots of heartache. Let me ask you this. The 250,000 people that are so ably working at the Department of Homeland Security, and I express my appreciation to all of them, are they all back to work?
They are.
No remote?
I'm sorry, no.
Is there remote work still, or are they all back in your offices?
There are different mechanisms. They're all working.
Well, I know. I'm asking if they're back physically to work. Have you lifted the restrictions?
Some of them are working remotely.
And why is that?
Because we believe in remote work as a capacity to deliver to workforce if the mission allows it, if the quality of the work is not compromised, as a benefit to our...
So that's going to a permanent change that's going to have occurred. Is that what you're saying?
That's been ongoing for years, a move to
Are more people remote working than there were before COVID?
I'd have to get that number for you, Senator.
Okay, real quick, on the USCIS, the fee issue, you haven't moved forward with a new rule to help cover the costs. The last administration proposed a fee increase, but left-wing advocacy groups sued to block it in court and further limited the agency's resources. You mentioned that they've made a special consideration for work permits because of the backlog. Are you planning on coming forward with a proposed fee increase? When would that be, and how much cost would you be covering with that?
So our personnel, our financial personnel at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services are working diligently to finalize a proposed fee rule.
And that will have a raise in the fee?
Oh, yes. Yes, it would.
When would we expect that, do you think?
I can get to you
Okay.
the precise time frame, Senator.
Okay, can I ask one last question? On the asylum officer rule, you've put a lot of stock in this in your 6-point plan that this is going to have a great effect of expediting the asylum claims and the removal. So if somebody comes to an asylum officer, they have to have their claim heard, you said, I think, within 24 months. Is that with the 2 years or 1 year?
Senator, I've set forth in the memorandum that I issued describing our detailed 6-pillar plan that the asylum rule is an element.
Right, right.
But I don't want to overstate because it's going to require a ramp-up time. It goes into effect at the end of this month. As I mentioned, the personnel at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services are not, the staffing is not at the level that we need it to be, so it's going to require a ramp-up. But the timelines in the asylum officer rule apply not only to the asylum officer themselves, but also to the immigration court judges should individuals receive a negative ruling, an adverse ruling from the asylum officer. They have a right to appeal.
Right.
That's what our law provides, due process. But the immigration judges under the asylum rule will be operating within a timeline as well.
Is that the whole thing, 2 years? Because if you get a no and you can appeal it to the judge, are we back to the 6 to 8 year time?
Oh, no, it's all in.
All in is 2 years.
All in.
I'm concerned that this might be more of a pull factor, and I'm sure that this is one of the considerations that you have. So I guess my last question would be, what metrics are you going to use to determine whether this has been successful? Is it going to be the amount of time that you've heard the claim, the amount of denials that have occurred, the amount of people that have been removed after their denial? What kind of metrics are you going to set up to make sure that we're measuring this and we can see whether it's been successful or not?
Well, I think there are a number of metrics. Number one, of course, and I don't mean to say number one is the top, but
Right.
Just to identify the different metrics, Senator. Speed.
So the timeline.
The timeline. Because the principle here is justice delayed is justice denied, regardless of the disposition. 2 are the rates of approval and denial or denial aberrant with respect to the parallel process of immigration court proceedings. 3, how effectively are we managing the outcomes of the asylum officer rule adjudications?
So that would be, are you removing, or is that what you're saying at number
Yes.
3? I mean, I would anticipate, isn't the law that if you are denied a claim that you would be removed from the country?
Oh, that is indeed the case, Senator. And if I may make one note, we have more than 11 million undocumented individuals in this country, and our enforcement processes cannot address it, nor necessarily should they with respect to each and every individual, for reasons I have articulated in memoranda. And it just speaks to the compelling and urgent need for legislation to fix our broken immigration system.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think